They do. Both of my grandfathers died early of heart attacks. Mom has had a quadruple bypass. My youngest brother has had a pacemaker for 20 years. And so the only solution really would be for me to select different parents at this late date. I don't think that's possible. One of the reasons that I've recovered so quickly is because I was taking such good care of myself beforehand, taking the fish oil, taking the vitamin C, avoiding red meat. You know, I'd have a good steak every once in a while, but, you know, eating fish and chicken and salad and doing the exercise. So it was all of that nutrition beforehand that allowed me to bounce back so quickly.
Absolutely. You know, so much is genetics. Now, I want to go over an article here because I said I would do this yesterday and I didn't really do it. And it's as if the heavens have opened up and dropped lightning bolts on us, but the lightning bolts bounce off at every level. Dirty tricks, COINTELPRO, national media, local media, attacking me specifically, but also others who are standing up for liberty because they're scared now. They tried to ignore us before, but 2 different Newsweek articles attacking me and others in just the last week. There's a big quasi-hit piece coming out this week in it's a featured story in Texas Monthly, so I'm wondering what that's going to be like. But the issue is we're drawing their fire. That means we're having an effect. And maybe it's not going to be a hit piece. I haven't read it yet. But the point is, Paul Watson wrote a counter article to this yesterday. It's up on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Newsweek. Powerful people do bad things. Too silly to discuss. That's an actual quote. And the article's titled, that's our counter article, titled, Know Your Conspiracy Theories. And I want to show people a document cam shot. And I'm going to go over these and just get you to respond. And they mix in a few silly ones to try to give weight to this. Now, number 2, they say man-made global warming is a hoax. Anthropogenic global warming is a hoax. And they go on to say there is no story, there is no climate gate, it doesn't exist, it's completely insane. Even as, look at this document cam shot, folks. If you're a radio listener, go pull it up. U-turn as scientist at center of row or argument admits there has been no global warming since 95. Globally, with the UN, with over 100 universities, they concertedly fudge the numbers. They've now been caught. He now admits it because he knows he's facing criminal prosecution. Here's another one. The continuing climate meltdown. Here's another one. Science blogger finds errors in Met Office climate change records. It's every facility lying. Warming meltdown. It goes on and on. And then what's the answer from Newsweek? It's as if a 10-year-old wrote this saying, my daddy can beat up your daddy. I mean, or as if saying that the sun doesn't come up in the morning. They just say it doesn't exist and that our claim that a global government is being established through this doesn't exist. That's what the UN said at Copenhagen. I mean, how dumb do they think we are to say, know your conspiracies, guide to today's trendiest, hippest, and least likely fringe beliefs. And it's full of just mainline stuff. I mean, don't they know this is political suicide? Or are they just speaking to their tiny audience they've got left as their circulation plummets across the board and just have such disdain for the average Newsweek reader that they tell them this doesn't exist? I mean, is this a miscalculation? What is this, Michael?
I think it's an effort to spin people around 5 or 6 times and get them dizzy so they don't know what to think. You know, the best lies are significantly true. And what happens in people's thought process, if I meet you for the first time, Alex, and you tell me 10 things that I know are true, eventually I go, this Alex Jones guy is a really good guy, and I stop analyzing. I mean, most people will just say, okay, Alex is a good guy. From now on, whatever Alex says, I assume to be true. That's what they did with Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck got on the radio and the television, and for a long time, he sounded like he was on our side. And what they were doing is they wanted Glenn Beck to establish credibility. So now that everybody's on the Glenn Beck bandwagon, that's when he has established our trust, and that's when he can turn around and savage Deborah Medina and make it sound like, she has no chance. So what we need to do as people is to question everything. Think. Your parents taught you the difference between right and wrong.
That's why I tell people to always check out all the COINTELPRO lies about me. We are not owned by ABC. We have nothing to do with ABC. Years ago, we leased a radio feed, which anybody in radio does. We now have another one. I am not owned by Saudi Arabians. I am not owned by the Brothmans. I've never met a Brothman. No connection to Brothmans. But the establishment, like Cass Sunstein at the White House says, they operate and pose as us. And I've always noticed these disinfo sites come out for a year. There's no infighting. There's no nothing. They create a rapport. That's what government agents do at any level. That's what anti-drug agents do. And then they launch their operation once they think they have people's credibility. And they make up stories about, Cheney's been arrested, or Alex Jones is a reptoid, or they mix Bigfoot in, and they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And it's just, supports what I said. People will be critical, they'll be suspicious up to a certain point, and then they drop their defenses, and after that, they just pretty much assume that people are credible. You can't, if you're going to be a traitor, you got to infiltrate. You've got to look like, your friend, and then once you get inside the defenses, then you can destroy it. So we need to have people continue to do critical thinking. Figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, but how dumb? But with Newsweek, it's so ridiculous. Like, they have another article, and they say Alex Jones is the prophet of the Tea Parties, and he makes up this wild story that they want a global government with the carbon taxes. It's all on record in the treaty with all the world leaders saying it. What is the psychological tactic to admit they're doing it, but then say it's insane, it doesn't exist?
I really don't know. The people who are trying to take over the world, they have such weird philosophies that, trying to figure out how they think or what they think it hurts. My brain doesn't work like that.
I agree with you.
You and I believe in individual rights and private property. Everybody should make and it boggles our minds to assume that someone would try to commit murder or try to steal your property or try to control the world.
And I think that's it. That's what the globalists count on. Here's number 3 from the article. Goldman Sachs intentionally created the economic crises, and then they give credit to Matt Taibbi, who reported on it years after we did at Rolling Stone, and then just basically says none of it's true, when we have a 5-part series with the internal emails of Goldman Sachs from major publications. What was the 5-part series? I'm having one of those moments. It was, what was the 5-part series? McClatchy News Service. I had one of those moments there, confirming it was premeditated, and now it's come out they engineered Iceland and Greece. That's in Reuters today. So, of course, the banks engineered this, and here's Newsweek saying Goldman Sachs had nothing to do with this.
Well, it's a last-ditch effort on their part. The Liberty Movement is growing. We've got the Tea Parties, the 912s, the Libertarian Party, Constitution Party, all of these groups getting together, and, all of these groups moving forward, not necessarily together, and the bad guys are just struggling to keep that small percentage confused. Your listeners know the truth. The people who take my class cannot be confused. It's just a couple of those people who are still in doubt will read this article and go, well, I'm just not going to worry about it, and they just won't try to figure things out.
Well, here's another one, because we have tens of thousands of new listeners every day, so I'm talking to them as well, and for our listeners to go out and wake up people around them that have been dumbed down and lied to. Number 4, Democratic health plan will create death panels. And then it goes in to say that's not true. It does create a government bureaucracy, and Tom Daschle's own book said it, where they will restrict health care to people that are above 60. And in Europe, they've done this, and it is a bioethicist death panel. Newsweek's own publication had the case for killing Granny saying, go ahead and kill Grandma. So, I mean, again, it's like this schizophrenia where they say, we want to kill your grandma, but we're not saying that. It doesn't exist.
Well, at some point, I think that they are so delusional that they start to believe their own hype. I mean, they are coming apart at the seams. The only thing we have that is necessary for us is just to not give up. Liberty will be restored. We are moving forward. And, you know, the only way that we can lose is if we start to doubt ourselves.
And we've gained a lot of ground. I got Webster Tarpley coming up at the 8 after next hour. Michael, let me twist your arm to stay an extra 5 minutes. This next segment, one more, okay?
Okay, I will do.
Fantastic. We'll be right back because I want to go over a few more of these, and then I got some other questions.